Right, welcome guys. Yeah, so we are on the second video for our banking CLI application. Okay, um so this time we are going to create our database tables. Okay, so the first one was just an introduction, just taking you through what we're going to build. And so we need a database, right? So we're going to use a database to persist our data. Okay, so we have two layers. We have our application layer, which is the PHP side, and we have the database layer, which is a Postgres or any database engine we are using. Our database layer can be any database layer, okay, which could be Postgres, MySQL, MongoDB. It's up to you, right? And you could call it the persistent layer or the persistence layer instead of database layer, because you might want to maybe replace it with maybe a REST API, where instead of writing to the DB, you are connecting with, let's say, an API, right? But for now, it's the database layer, okay, because we want to work with the database. So we have a few tables we need to create. Okay, we need to create an account table, and we need to create a transaction table. Okay, so account represents a user's account, okay, which includes details of the user and the user's account details, which would be the balance and certain credentials needed to be able to log in to the application. While transaction represents the transactions between users, so basically fund transfers. Okay, and also this is the same table we'll be using to power our account list, right? Okay, so if we need to say our transaction list, so we need to get a list of transactions, okay, for a particular user. All right, so here we are. So yeah, let's do this. Okay, so I'm going to be using Postgres database. You could use SQL, it's up to you, but I have PostgreSQL installed, so I'm going to start up pgAdmin. Alright, okay, so this will connect to our database server. Alright, so have a few scripts we've opened. Okay, so if I go to servers, I can see a few servers we have, but I'm not going to be doing any modification there. We just need a database. It has connected to the server we're using, which is this particular instance. Okay, so we have a few database. Oh, seems we actually have a database for that, so let me just delete. Right, it's gone. Okay, so so let's create our database. So I'm going to open a new connection. I think, can I do that from here? No, I don't want to create a database from here. Well, we can create from here, just a simple command. Okay, but maybe we should try using SQL for now. Alright, so I'm going to lend this this query view. Okay, so just below, let's do so let's do create database followed by the name of the database, which in this case we'll call banking CLI DB. Okay, so let's do that. Execute the script. Okay, that's fine. Right, so this has created a database. So if let's refresh to see if we can see it. Alright, so that's good. So from here I can try connecting to the database. Okay, so let's go to query tool. Okay, so this will connect to our database instance. Okay, so right now I want to create two tables, and these are the views we want. Okay, so we need the account table and we need the transaction table. So let's start with the account table. So let's say create table. Note SQL isn't really case sensitive, okay, when it comes to the syntax, okay, but it's kind of like the convention to use capital, or what do you call it, you call it uppercase, okay, Pascal case, Camel case, okay, yeah, uppercase, let's just call that. So uppercase for any clause, for any SQL clause you're going to be writing. Okay, so I'm going to follow that convention, though lately it's not strictly followed, but I prefer to follow that convention. Okay, so create table followed by the name of the table, so we'll call it account. Usually it's also convention to have a plural naming, okay, for your entities. Okay, but this is not a standard. Okay, some prefer to use singular naming, some plurals. I prefer plurals. Okay, so let's go with that. Okay, so our first column is the ID column, so it's going to be a string, and it's also going to be unique. It's going to be the primary key. It's going to have a length of 50. So let's do that. So we'll say ID followed by data type. So we'll say varchar. Let's do 50, and it's also going to be our primary key, and it's going to be unique as well, right? Then we also have our username. So username, it's going to be a string, so let's use varchar. Let's use a length of 200. Usually emails don't exceed 180, so let's just use 200 to be safe. And yeah, it's going to be unique as well. Now we also want to make sure this is not null. We must provide an ID, so it's not null, so let's do that. And for username, that also shouldn't be null as well, so let's say not null. Then password hash, this will hold our password hash, so we won't be storing the actual password. We're going to be hashing it to prevent users direct access to the actual password stored. Okay, so we're going to hash it, and the hash could possibly have a length of 4096, but we could use 5000 just to well, anything can happen. Yeah, so we're also going to say it's not null as well. So we also need the user to provide their full name, so we use full name varchar, let's say name maximum of 100, not null as well. Then we're going to have balance, so balance will represent it as a double, so double will mean something, values like 0.00, like maybe 2.01, something like that. Okay, so we use double precision, and we can say not null as well. We could decide to set maybe default balance, maybe something like default, and then put like 0, but we'll allow the application layer to handle that. Maybe we might want to preload an initial balance for the user, so but let's make it compulsory so that you have to supply a balance. Okay, then we have an account number, so account number, this would be varchar. So in Nigeria, so we have a standard NUBAN account length of 10 digits. Okay, so 10 digits would be our account number, so I'm just going to make it a max of 10. and also you need an account number to have an account, so we'll make it not null. Then we'll also have where we'll store our pin, so this will be varchar. I put the length of 500, so the hash of the pin will not be more than will not be a lot, so we could put 500. Okay. I think this is also an overkill, but well, why not? Okay, so okay, yeah, so the pin, when you create an account, okay, you won't immediately have a pin. Okay, so which means if we set it to not null, we must set a default pin, but we would want to make the user provide that pin as soon as they complete their account. So once you log in for the first time, we check if your pin isn't set. If it's not set, then we'll prompt you to set your pin. So we need to make it null to allow the user to sign up without a pin, or for us to create a record without providing a pin. And then we also have the time, date and time the transaction was, or the account was created. So we'll use timestamp. We're also going to add some attributes. Okay, we're going to say without time zone, so we don't need the time zone information. And we are also going to what do we do? Yeah, not null as well. We need to provide that, and we're going to also do that for the last modified at without time zone, and it's going to be not null. All right, so then we could also start creating our transactions table. So say transactions, and for transactions we have an ID. So ID is going to be varchar with a fixed length of 50. Going to be our primary key. Now primary keys are unique, which means we actually don't need to add this. Okay, so we could skip that. We'll say not null. Then we can have an amount, which is also going to be double. Precision is going to be not null. Now we don't want a transaction to be created with a negative value or a zero value. You must have at least, let's say, an amount you are sending. You can't send zero or a negative amount to another user. Okay, else we don't want to forcibly cause a debit. So we're going to add a restriction that prevents you from setting an amount less than or equal to 0. Okay, so it must be greater than 0. So we can add a check constraint here, and we can check amount greater than 0. Okay, so anything greater than 0 would be fine, or we could do 1 if we don't want to do maybe 0 point something, but you might want to set that. So let's just do, as long as it's greater than 0, it is fine. All right, so what next? Status. So status, so this is going to be a varchar. Let's set it. Okay, our status aren't more than 20, so let's do that. Let's say not null. Now I want to restrict status, the values we can assign to status, to a fixed range of values. Okay, so we have going to add a check constraint. We only want you to be able to set pending, successful, or fail. Now this pending, I've been thinking maybe it's best we do call it processing. Okay, instead of pending, because pending might mean we've not started treating that transaction. So we want to put it at processing immediately, and then eventually make it successful or fail. Right, so I want to restrict the possible values for status to these 3. So we could use the check constraint as well. So we could say check, then we can say status in, and we could provide a list. So let's say processing, let's say successful, let's say field, right? Okay, so for created at, let's do timestamp without time zone, not null. And for last modified at, it's going to be, oh, okay, last modified at might not be necessary because we're kind of, we might not want to simulate like a pending transaction, but I think we'll do that. We'll still maintain it. Maybe we could simulate something where a transaction could process after a while. Yeah, but let's yeah, let's still add that. So let's do without time zone, not null. Then okay, so let's do sender account ID first. Okay, so who is sending this money? Okay, this fund. So let's make it varchar as well. We'll align it with what we have. So once so the sender account ID represents the account holder. That's the account that sent or that is sending the funds. Okay, so we're going to reference that table. So say references accounts, then which column do you want to reference? The ID columns. Let's do that. Let's say ID. We also want to make it not null because when sending you must have a sender, and we'll do that for the beneficiary account ID. So who is receiving or who received the money. So do reference the same table ID not null. Okay, so in our application layer we need to make sure that we don't send money to the same person, so you shouldn't be able to send to yourself. So we'll do those checks, right? Right, so let's create our tables. So highlight, execute, fine. Then let's execute that for transactions. Nice. Okay, so let's try to test. Okay, so let's do insert into accounts values. Okay, so for values, let's say ACC 001. Let's say this will be an ID, and let's say for okay, let's say username. So let's say what do we do? Okay, let's say tests at php.net. Let's do that. For password, let's just put password, right? Alright, so for full name, let's say PHP admin. Let's do that. Let's see balance. Okay, let's say balance. Let's do yeah. Now you might ask, why didn't we put a check for balance as well? Well, it's possible that balances can fall into the negatives because you might be charged for something and you don't have enough balance to take care of that charge. So your account can be negative, and then when money comes in, we balance it, right? So yeah, let's do 0 for account, or let's preload some money. Okay, but yeah, let's preload some. So account number, let's do an account number that exceeds the length. So let's say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. Let's add 1. Then let's say for pin hash, let's set it to null, right? Just to confirm that works. Then created out, let's use the MySQL now function to generate a date. So let's try to insert this. Okay, so get the validation error for our account number. So let's reduce the length and execute. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this to create another account. So let's give it an ID of 2. Let's say mod. Let's choose the same password. Let's do let's do PHP moderator. Let's give him more money, because why not? So have this as the account number, and let's create a record. Nice. Okay, so let's try creating the same record. Okay, nice. So we have our primary key constraint, our unique constraint for the primary key, and let's try maybe inserting the same in your account to the same email. Okay, nice. Okay, all right, so that's good. Okay, so let's try testing sending money, right? So let's create a transaction record. So we do insert. No, this isn't going to actually reduce the balance. We are just testing inserting a record into this table. So let's say transactions values. Let's do tx001. So what do we need? We need an amount. So let's say 4,000. Let's do something like 4,050. Right? Then let's say status. Let's put maybe a long status. Let's do pending. And did I update this? Okay, yeah, that's okay. So let's do now, and that's updated at now. Let's also put maybe long values for the sender and beneficiary account. So let's do wolf. Right, let's see if that works. Okay, so it fails because, well, we actually don't have, well, let's see why did it fail this time. Okay, so I think we have it. Okay, it failed because of this check constraint pending, so let's fix that. And let's also see, let's put maybe is it possible to do minus? Let me try doing that. Okay, great. So we can't put a negative balance, which is fine. So let's do 4,050. Let's try to insert again. Okay, yeah. So we are putting an ID that doesn't exist in the accounts table. So let's use this. Let's see if it goes ahead. Okay, now beneficiary account ID. So let's do that. So let's use this and this, right? Alright, so it works. So let's go through our tables just to see what data we have there. Okay, so for this we have this record. That's nice. And let's also do transactions, right? So we have one transaction. Okay, so the precision value was stored. We got a decimal value. It's processing. We have the date it was created, date it was last modified, and we also have the account ID and the beneficiary account ID. Okay, this is nice. Alright, so that'll be all for this video. See you in the next one.